Well, cool. I guess we're getting started here, guys. So as you guys hopefully know, this is Kevin. I'm Thomas. We are the traditional hosts of the Unsuccessful Entrepreneur podcast. Ryan's turning me down because I'm a loud boy. And we've got here a special guest with us, one that we are very excited about. Mr. Patrick Mabe is the VP of Sales for Core Nutritionals, Merica Labz, and more importantly, a dear friend of ours.
Ooh, thank you.
We're super stoked to have you on, man.
Thanks, dude.
What,
I'm just happy to be here.
Yeah.
This is one of my favorite times of the year.
Yeah. You know, I've heard you say it multiple times, and I know you mean it, but it is something really cool for, I know me personally, and I'm sure anybody else who heard it, is you have mentioned this place being a second home to you. I've heard you say it a couple times now, and I love that, man. We love having you around.
And I do say that you catch me. So I made this word up. Doug gets me crap all the time, but I think it has genuinity. Isn't that a word? I'm pretty sure that's a word. It's not, but
genuineness. Maybe?
I bring up, I think I said it on the phone to Sam. I've been on the phone a couple times. So yeah, I do say it in just like passing. And I mean, I literally I've flown here in the past since COVID. I definitely have spent a lot of time in Oklahoma City. Yeah. You guys still held your sample triad in 2020. Mm-hmm. Then we had Norman. Yep. Then we had another sample triad. Yeah. And then Kevin and Alyssa got married. Yeah. So like in the past 2 years, I've been here like 4 or 5 times. I love
one of the things that I genuinely love about you just in general is I love that. In my eyes, I don't know, I associate you with core and supplements, and I associate with those things, obviously, because it's why we know you, but it's not the first thing that ever comes to my mind when I think of you. I think of you as just like genuinely a friend, genuinely like somebody that I would just shoot a meme to or something on Instagram, or just like a good buddy. And so I think that that's something that's really cool about the space that we're in, is that we get to meet a lot of like-minded people, and we get to meet people that end up being genuine friends. I mean, like literally you're invited to the Will Height wedding.
I mean, is my mic not on?
Dude, and I felt that love right there. But I just want you to know, I was a little distracted because Stanley was taking a doo-doo literally while that was going on.
What can you do? You plugged in all the way, Kev?
You're just taking a poopy.
Test.
You were pooping.
We are having some technical difficulties, so
try it now.
Test.
You were your checks were working, weren't they?
Yeah.
Hey,
there's
back. There he is.
Back. Good to be back.
Like he never left.
But
cutting back in.
One thing that I really like a lot is when you come in the door. You know, we were hanging out in the back of the store, and Anthony was up front, and Anthony's the manager at the Quail Springs location, and he's met you, a handful of times, or, you guys have been around each other a decent amount. And when you walk in the door, he's like, Patrick, like excited to see you. We've got a ton of reps that come into town, but just, not just for us, but for like everyone on the team to be excited for you to be in town is pretty cool.
Yeah. Well, I mean, from the day one, when I first came and met you guys, like, there's just that connection, right? Mm-hmm. And like we've built great relationships over the years. You guys have, you have warranted the company for paying me to come out here multiple times because you guys do so well with our brands. So I mean, it just makes things easy for us. Like, sure. You guys are great people. We're we're like-minded individuals, and we happen to do business together. Mm-hmm. So that brought us together. But like at the end of the day, we came to it was the reception party. Because your wedding party was a little bit smaller.
Yeah, our wedding was pretty much immediate family only. Yeah. But we did a big reception here in Oklahoma City, and that was about what our like wedding guest list would look like. Yeah. It's there's not too many other people that we simply just work with, like with other companies that were invited. I think it was you and Sean Vasquez were the only two. Yep. That got the invite.
And I love coming here, and I love seeing Sean too. Yeah. He's like-minded as well.
Exactly.
He's having a boy, isn't he? They're about to pop.
Yeah, I think. Did they announce a gender yet?
I have no idea.
I hope I didn't. I swear I saw
having a bleep.
Yeah, bleep that out, Ryan. Sorry, Sean.
I honestly don't know. Jess is very pregnant. That's for sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, he's juggling that. But
Oklahoma is a second home. Like, I was talking about this in Vegas. So we were in Vegas for National Association of Convenience Stores last 2 weekends ago, or 2 weeks ago. And I started this sentence off. I like to start sentences off with a lot of, I guess, preface to it, and people don't know where I'm going. But I was like,
like right now.
Exactly. There's a lot of places, you travel across the country when you're doing this kind of stuff, and there's a lot of places that when you're there, you're like, you know what, I could see myself living here.
Yeah.
And they were like, bro, what are you talking about? Because we were in like the hood of Vegas. I was like, and this isn't one of them.
I do not mean here.
Oklahoma City is definitely, I think, one of those places for me. I mean, I've explored it enough. I remember, so me and Sam came to your wedding reception, and we came a couple days early because it was our anniversary, or it was our third year anniversary. We just had our third year anniversary. And we went on a vacation to Oklahoma City.
Yeah.
And people were, we were out to eat at a brunch spot. Oh, what brings you here? Oh, we're on vacation. Why would you vacation to Oklahoma City? A lot of people were like, what are you
thinking?
But like, we just loved exploring new places, and like downtown's Bricktown was amazing. Like, there's a lot of cool stuff going on in this
very underrated area. Man.
Yeah. Yeah. So I really enjoy it here.
Yeah.
So I love every opportunity that you guys are having an event. And there's a new store on the way, so I know there's another event in the pipeline eventually. Right. So I want to make it more than a once a year thing.
Yeah, I appreciate the grind that you do with it as well, because this is one of the things that I actually I've been talking about you quite a bit recently, just to some of the newer people who maybe hadn't met you yet, because we growing staff obviously, and we're starting to have more and more people that work for us, and people just kind of ask about you, and oh, okay, I've heard about Patrick, and I always describe you with two main topics. Is that one, every sample triad, you are typically the first guy there, or one of the first guys there, like always willing to help. You're there at 6 a.m. helping tents go up, helping maneuver, get everything ready. I tell that story because like that's obviously something that you don't have to do, and it's a testament to your character, and super cool to have a friend like you, like I'm saying, that is willing to come and just put in the grunt work that kind of sucks, and just willing to just be part of the team while you're here. And I also tell that like you literally slept on our couch the second triad, came to town, slept on the couch at the old house, and yeah, you were all in, man, very early.
Yeah, that was good. That's some stories.
Back when we weren't paying ourselves very much at all, or nothing at all, and we were all roommates and in a small house, and the couch that Thomas brought from Springfield that he got for free.
Yep.
You were willing to grind with us.
Yeah, TRIAD was still the trio at that point.
Yeah.
That was 2017.
Yes,
I believe.
Yeah, that was last year.
I missed 2018. Maybe even 2019. Like there was a little bit of a break. Like I came out like when I first took over the sales role and came out here, and I don't even know how I ended up on the couch. It's not like we were like pissed drunk or anything. It's not like I had no place to go. It's just like we have a core value at HQ that is collect the gold dust. And like I took that to heart a lot, especially in the beginning of traveling. Yeah. Because like Doug wanted me to push for sales and travel and build relationships, but I also was, trying to keep the company in mind.
Sure.
And that. So yeah, I ended up on the couch that night.
I remember you did one, cause I invited you to, stay on the couch. I was like, man, I don't know how, within a budget you guys are having to stay with this. I was like, man, we'll at least offer. We got a couch. And you stayed, I think you did the first night in the hotel and the second night on the couch. And I'm still halfway convinced you stayed on our couch just to accept the invite one night.
Yeah. Probably so.
I'm going to do one night, but not 2 nights on that couch.
Yeah. Well, I think the next night, I think maybe I was catching the flight the next day. I don't even remember, to be honest.
It's been a while.
Mm-hmm.
It has been a while.
It's crazy to think about how long.
I think I might have been. Yeah, I think I was catching a flight, and so like I wanted to be by the airport so I can just Uber over or take a taxi or whatever.
Well, I think it's cool because especially you're somebody who can look back and kind of see the difference where the event and thing that we're talking about was Sample Triad, where the after party was pizzas and beers at our house and people just hanging out and we having a good time.
Ping pong
and
table tennis.
Yeah.
Me and Alyssa were partners and we were running the table for a little while. Yeah. And then that was that moment, man. That was like, and that's just that is who I am. That is my character. And it's just like I'm gonna put myself in their shoes for the time being. And that's how relationships are built, and there's respect, given and earned during those times. And I mean, literally, that is when the friendship was built. Is that night playing ping pong, hanging out in the back.
You come to town with a different mindset than most reps. Like obviously the traditional, and not by any means a bad way of going about it is, maybe get to town Friday night, go check in at the hotel, come, maybe an hour before the event on Saturday. Most will go back to the hotel.
Oh, thank you.
We'll talk about it in a second. Keep going.
That works for me.
But yeah, you come to they might go back to the hotel after the event, get cleaned up, come back out and, have dinner with us afterwards at the little after party that we do. But when you come in town, you are with us from Friday afternoon when you get in town till the time you go back to the airport. You just immerse yourself in what we're doing. You'll hang out at the store, in the back of the store with us as we're working. Man, you obviously you're staying at our place tonight. I think you stayed with Alfonso and Anthony one year, didn't you?
So like I'm literally moving up, and I'm not hating on Alfonso and Anthony's spot, but there was like a shower issue. I think one shower wasn't working, so like I had a drizzle, like a legit just a drop,
like someone peeing on you.
I got to roll with this, like
this is
what it is. So, and then Anthony took me to the airport, picked me up from the airport, and then. I really last year I stayed in a hotel because Sam was with me, and we stayed like literally the hotel next to the store, like that as Holiday Inn or something really right up the street.
It doesn't feel like you were ever there though, because like Thomas said, man,
no, we weren't.
You showed up when we showed up. Like we try and get there about an hour or two before vendors show up, but you're there with us,
ready to go.
Yep.
And you cleaned up afterwards too, man.
Yeah. Well, I mean, so I learned that too from the stores, right? So we own retail stores in our umbrella of business, and I recognize those reps that are first there, and last to leave. And there's a couple that come to mind that are always like that, and I try to emulate that. Right? And so I actually for the nut bash one year, there was a rep that was slowly we started competing with each other. Like he showed up the next day earlier than me, and I like got jokingly pissed.
Yeah.
Parked my car in front of my van that had the banner on it in front of his table. I was like, this is nobody's supposed to beat me here. So
that's awesome.
Yeah, that's kind of like a core value that I try to, pass on. I don't like to take down early.
Yeah.
Certain situations, it's like if we were running a drink machine at a natural body event, and like a drink machine takes like 45 minutes or so to break down, and so like like trying to you start thinking about it a little bit, but we still were one of the last to be there. So yeah.
But yeah, I don't know if you do this at other events, but not just the last vendor to be there, but man, you're there hours past the event being done, helping. You're in the back of the store helping clean up, man. It's every single year we notice and appreciate the hell out of it. Yep. It's just cool that you're just it feels like you're part of the team, not just there as a vendor.
1,000%.
Yeah. Well, you got close one. Stanley, you're about
Stanley
to
going wild.
But yeah, you guys make it easy, and now it's like it is known that when I'm coming for Sample Triad, like I'm literally with you guys the whole weekend.
Yep.
Like I got nothing else to do besides support you guys. So,
and I want to ask, because I do think it's probably something that, at least from your perspective, I'd love to know, because you do remember the times when it was us sitting at the house eating the cheapest pizza that we could find, versus now where it's like, the after party for Sample Triad is, all the reps, every employee, significant others going to, we have a reservation, we do awards, like we do all these super cool things now that we definitely didn't do in the past. And so I'm always curious, from somebody who's been around the whole time. I think that, I hope that you see and are just as, I'm sure you are just excited as we are, as like watching the growth of this event as it's like continued to evolve over the years and continue to go.
It's huge. Like there was a moment at Kevin's reception. Stanley, what are you doing? You don't like these chords?
I think he might want up on the couch.
Oh no, it's not happening.
I don't think so.
We're gonna need to lock
Stella
him up.
is up on the couch, and
She took the spot.
Should we lock him up? Okay, we can edit that out. So we are deciding, because we will probably be partaking in a little bit of the hooch tomorrow. We are going to do sodies and cigars tonight, so that we can. Thanks, Kev. We're going to do sodies and cigars tonight and save ourselves a little bit for tomorrow.
So shout out to Patrick for grabbing these cigars on the way over here.
So the guy at your favorite store over there, he just started rambling off a bunch of stuff. This was his last Padron 1964 anniversary series. And I'm like, dude, that sounds good. I'm going to take it. And usually Padron is a high-end cigar. I've never smoked any of those. Those two that you got are, one's a Maduro, one's a Connecticut, but they're the same, not the same brand. They're aged in bourbon. So I figured you guys, since we're not drinking, might like enjoy.
Thanks for giving me the
bourbon
Connecticut.
taste.
Yeah, this is a lot sweeter than it smelled. This is actually very good.
And we changed up the setting. I appreciate you guys. So a little of the reason too is we were supposed to do this tomorrow after Sample Triad, which would have technically been like a pregame to the
little bit
the dinner. But I've taken a vow to not drink for the rest of the year, which I told Kevin yesterday. Was it yesterday? 2 days ago on the phone.
I think yesterday.
Yeah, I don't know what day it is anymore.
It's running together.
But so I appreciate you guys switching it up, and you know, I totally encourage them to have a glass. But now we're enjoying a cigar.
Yeah, we're obviously currently, you're in town for Sample Triad. You just got here a few hours ago. We are currently setting up for Sample Triad. We have obviously been doing a lot this week, in the past few weeks. But we got to the point earlier today that we're kind of had done everything we could and won't be able to do a whole lot more until tonight. So we said, man, we've got a few hours. Let's sneak away and do a podcast now instead of
knock it out
tomorrow, when we'll probably be all. If we would have done it tomorrow, we would have been a little bit more slap happy. We would have had a very different podcast. I think.
They've been running on fumes.
Oh yeah.
But we would have had a huge like high, from the day.
Oh, for sure.
The event high.
Yeah.
Kevin talked about in a meeting this morning how there's always, you get really wore out during Sample Triad because it is a day. It is a big day, lots of stuff, but you always hit a second wind. You always get re-excited, invigorated about just the event itself because you're just kind of taken back by it.
So I have a rule now, because I learned in 2019, because we had a lot of new people in 2019, we did a Sample Triad, and obviously that event wears you out. You're there early in the morning setting up. You're there for the whole event nonstop, and then right into cleanup. And then it's, we're getting towards close, like, 5, 6, 7 o'clock, and everybody's worn out. And we plan to go out to dinner and do something, and everybody's like, man, I think I'd rather just go home, go to sleep. And there were a few people on the team at that point. They were like, no, we don't want to go out. We want to celebrate. I'm riding a high from the day. So it was this like big back and forth like argument. I was like, okay, finally, like I'm just going to make a call. We're going to my house, where I think that was still when we were ordering pizzas and whatnot. Stanley. I made the rule of, hey, if you want to come over, great, have a good time. But if you're going to be grumpy about it, you can't come over. Like if you're going to be sleepy and you're going to be grumpy, you're not allowed. So I made that hard rule. Everyone showed up. Everyone had a great time.
Yeah, it's great. So on this podcast, I guess, is this episode 7? So
It
episode
is.
6, I listened to, and you got into some Sample Triad business.
A little bit.
But have you broken down like what's changed over the years, or like, I guess you did talk a little bit about the size, but you got into it before we cracked the cigars open. You were talking about how it's changed in my perspective.
Sure.
I've seen, it used to be inside.
Yeah. It
You
used
know,
to fit
imagine.
inside.
Yeah. It used to be inside. So is this the third?
It'll be the third one outside. The first year we did it outside was 2020, and it was kind of a last minute, like, oh, I don't know if it's
That's
gonna
when the
fit.
tents failed.
Yeah, and we tried to do
what a morning.
Yeah. You say failed. That was pretty catastrophic. The wind blew it over, folded it in half.
Yeah, well, failed.
Yeah.
With a structural failure.
You were there for that. You were there in the morning.
And
helping
I
us
was
set
about
us
to
up.
give you a joke because we've had during our,
Take a time out.
Our first one was a few months into business. I think it was in January. We had opened the November the year before, obviously, but a few months in, and we saw 50 people that day for the entire day. The event was 10 hours long. 2016.
Okay.
And we were stoked about it. 50 total people for the whole day. It was a great day for us.
Yeah. I mean, you're a brand new store.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right? You're starting something brand new.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And so, like, I mean, y'all touched on it last podcast. Like, this is what you guys have done from the beginning. And this is another reason why we get along so well, is because you guys get it. But you're so focused on the interactions and the experiences. So, like, from going to maybe, like, I don't know how many you're averaging a day, but I don't think it might not have been 50 walk-ins or transactions at that point. You know, that's pretty high, right? Like,
absolutely.
in a brand new store. So maybe like in the 20 is a good number, you know, in your first year, and
15.
So to have 50 good interactions in a day, you know, and providing experience like as a startup, it's a big deal.
Absolutely.
You know,
absolutely.
And then, but then you don't settle, right? And so you got to beat it every year.
And then today it's, you know, we have 50 transactions at Quail on a random Tuesday, and we're like, kind of slow today.
Yeah. If we had 50 transactions at Quail, I think we'd be worried. We have 50 transactions at Norman's kind of a slow day anymore.
Do you know what the average that we're seeing in Norman right now?
I would say, if I had to, I would say 50. Yeah, 50 is about right. 50 would put us right in the right range.
That's crazy.
50 to 60.
That's crazy.
Mm-hmm. 50 to 60 a day. Pretty normal.
So Quail would be.
Yeah, that would be like,
ooh, what's going on today?
Yeah, you know, that'd be a $2,000, $2,500 day. You'd cry.
I think so.
You'd be like, we're going out of business.
You know, one thing though that I brag about you guys,
what,
when it comes to Sample TRIAD, the thing that amazes me and people that are in the industry still, that I don't know if too many people in the industry know this. Your customers, your clients definitely do. Sample TRIAD is ran, and there's a lot of revenue in this day. A lot of revenue. I don't know how transparent you guys are, but you guys do a big number, and you do not run a single discount. To my knowledge. Sample TRIAD is done sheerly on customer appreciation and experience given for that day.
Yeah.
And it's up to the vendors, and I'm sure that you work with them and make sure that, you know, they're doing something.
Yeah.
But to provide the giveaways, the gift with purchases. And so, like, I try to do better at this each year. So this year we got this special. We only have 50 of these shirts, 49 if I'm wearing one. I don't know if Kaylin kept hers or not.
Probably.
Whoever designed that shirt did a great job.
Yeah, you did. I sent it to my graphic designer. I'm like, hey, send me something like Oklahoma City and Core collab with TRIAD. And he sent me this, and Kevin was like, hold my beer. How much does this guy get paid?
We've done so many shirts. We kind of have a better
shirts.
idea on what does well and what hasn't.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And I think it was more of I think the vibe was putting off a OKC Thunder.
Yeah,
vibe.
which is awesome. It was an awesome shirt.
I do like the blue one that you guys have, the
Thunder one?
The Thunder one.
Yeah, it's cool.
I didn't find an XL, but
we didn't move a whole lot of those. It was just something about
I just don't know if, like, maybe your customer base isn't like the NBA, you know, fanatic.
Yeah.
You know, and I'm not an NBA fanatic either. But I do associate, because I don't know, because I'm out of state. I don't know much about Oklahoma City and the roots of it. So, like, I know the Thunder are
Sure,
you know, a big deal
for sure. It's our only like pro sports team here, so they are a big deal. But
yeah, I
think people have just general Oklahoma pride. So including the flag, including, like, you know, even just the word Oklahoma a lot of times.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So what? Well, I want to go back to how great it is of you guys. So, like, our Nutrition Corner stores, and during our Nut Bash, we still run a deal, you know? So, like, the fact that you guys do this without having a sale is phenomenal. And it is a true testament to how much you guys have built a clientele. You have clients that you have built trust with, and they, no matter what, they're coming to TRIAD for their product. They might be able to find it somewhere else, but they're always coming to you guys because of the relationship built. And it started with Kevin and the three and
Chad
and Vincent.
Yeah.
But then now you guys had, I think, 15 plus people on staff now, and like
we're sitting currently at 14, 15?
14.
The great thing about that is you have been able to grow and scale and still keep your principles, your core values to each person. So like it's not no customer or client is missing a beat when it comes to the TRIAD experience. And so when you have this sample TRIAD, and I know about your, the experience that you guys give, but the fact that you have this big event without a single deal still like is just, I don't think anybody is doing it in the industry that you guys are doing it. Just from, there might be, I don't know all,
sure.
right?
You're a big perspective.
But when I look at one of the things that we do, like Natural Body just ran an event. It's a massive event. It's huge, but they're doing a BOGO 50, you know? And so like you guys are doing something similar to that with competitive numbers, in my opinion. I don't know all the numbers, but I think they're competitive, and you're not running a single deal. And that is a sheer testament to how much of the experience and the trust and what kind of clientele you guys have. They're coming out for you guys no matter what. Doesn't mean if I don't get a deal, but I get a free t-shirt for the day, like sweet, dude, I'm coming out.
So it was funny. The first one, I'm trying to remember what the numbers were on the first one that we did, but the funniest thing about it was we did the first sample TRIAD just to try and get people in the door and familiar with us because no one really knew about us. And at the end of the day, we looked at, our sales and we're like, holy crap, like we did a bunch of sales today. And it was like just totally an afterthought. Like we didn't even think about it going, even as the event was going on, we weren't even thinking about it. And then it was afterwards that we like, or okay, like we do actually make a lot of sales on these days, but that was never the intention. And I remember even, I think it was your first one, you were like kind of confused when you were like, hey, what kind of deals are we running? What do we, and I was like, man, we just don't run deals. And you're like, well, for the event, like typically like here's how it can help. And it obviously can help quite a bit, but I think we were just so used to not running deals that it was like, we just didn't. And I don't know what your first experience was like at Sample TRIAD, but I just remember there was like a little bit of confusion there. You're like, what deals you running? We're like, what?
Yeah. And maybe I wasn't fully prepared on the GWP side of things, like, cause like as a guy that is not only trying to explain the products, I'm trying to sell. Right?
Sure.
Like when I come to this event and you guys see it, like, that's why I need, like, you guys help me out with somebody for my table. And I think Emily's going to come out tomorrow too, later in the day. But like, I might be trying to run into the store because one of the tough things about having a tent event is that the product's still in the store. So that conversation that you might have at that table, well, I want to be able to walk you inside and make sure I put that product in your hand and walk in and make sure that you actually go through it. Because I'm there to sell for you guys too, right? So, I'm not a car salesman, but being a sales guy, like, I want to be able to offer a 10% or like this is the deal for the day, So maybe that was part of the confusion. But again, it's I don't know many people at all that are doing this scale of an event without a sale.
Yeah.
And so like it's pretty awesome to watch.
Thank you, man. That means a lot. You got a big perspective. Two things come to mind when we were talking about this was first and foremost, tomorrow, just so you know, part of my job, I am vendor relations tomorrow. So when you walk somebody inside, I'm happy to take over your table and you can have full trust that I will sample out everything you got.
Or vice versa.
I can take over for you.
Or you just walk them in. Hey, Thomas. Right. You can just be my liaison.
That's right. And then I'm
just hang by the core booth.
And then we've got I'm the transition from outside to inside, and then I'm going to hand them off to one of our in-store employees who's going to be helping customers in there and take it right over. So it's funny to see how like we've gotten to this point of like these roles that come into it.
It's a new one for this year.
Yeah. Back to what you were talking about with, without us doing a sale and, numbers and stuff. I think why maybe this is I think this is potentially where some of the genuineness comes from, and why I think hopefully I'm speaking to why our customers appreciate us. That this conversation is the first time all week that how much money we were going to sell on Saturday has come up. Not a single moment has ever in a sample triad have we ever been focused on how much money we could make. The entire point of it is, how do we make it bigger? How do we make it better for the customers? How do we make a cooler experience? How do we have more vendors, more things, free food, bigger tents, 2 tents, whatever that looks like? I think we've always come into it with like a customer first mindset, like literally, and I completely understand why, but literally that's the first time all week that we have even spoken about like, oh yeah, we'll probably do good sales too.
And that is a mindset that leads to sales. Like, you don't need to think about the money, because it'll as long as you're putting your customer first, everything always falls into place.
Amen.
So like as you scale, it's like, okay, how do we make it bigger? How do we make it better? But how do we take that step without jeopardizing our values?
Right.
And I think some stores, I think, get lost in, am I trying to do an expo, or am I trying to do a customer appreciation event? If you go to the Arnold, if you go to some of these expos, what do you run into? You run into people that are trying to grab samples. They're trying to grab freebies.
Yep.
They're trying to grab as much as they can that is free. And then it takes away from the vendor that's trying to provide an experience, because this person's not coming to have a conversation about how to better themselves, how to reach their goals, how to learn more about this product from this company. They're just coming to grab whatever. And you guys probably have a few of those. Like, that's when you run an event, it's open to the public, right? Like, the tent draws people now, I think. But like the way you can kind of run an event, it can turn into like an expo where people are just really trying to take advantage of what you're doing that day and stock up for months to a year. I saw it happen. Wholesale order like of First Form at an event, like, because First Form doesn't run deals, right? So like, if you got an amazing deal going on, that person literally bought a wholesale order, like thousands of dollars.
Wow.
And they probably stocked up for, who knows, they might have even been reselling it. So it's the fine line of trying to be an expo or doing a customer appreciation event.
Right.
And you guys run one of the best customer appreciation events that I've ever been to.
Thank you. That's something that's interesting, because we try to instill that mentality into all of our employees. In fact, one of the interviews that we have, this is the second interview that we have. I typically handle that one, and part of that interview is, it's a lot of creating expectation. It's talking about how we do things, why we do things, who we are, just trying to make sure this person's on the same page. One of the things that is written in ink on part of that interview is explaining that if you have your focus always 100 yards downrange and not the inch in front of you, we're going to fail, right? If you're setting your finish line at, and this is for a regular employee, but like, if you're setting your finish line at the next promotion, you're setting your finish line at the next store opening up, the next opportunity you're going to have, as opposed to setting the finish line at the next person that walks in the door that you can give the best interaction you've ever given. Like, if you focus on that, you cross the finish line multiple times a day, you'll always be fulfilled. You'll always be excited. You'll look up and we're 10 miles down the road, right? When you've got that long term, that long vision, it's, man, everything always looks so far away. It's always, it's 100 miles down the road and it's going to take us so long to get there. How long until I'm going to have an opportunity to be a manager? How long until I can be a regional manager? How long until this? And you're so focused on down there, you don't realize the thing that gets us there is the next person that walks in the door. You crossing that finish line by holding your head high, walking out saying, I gave them the best interaction I could have today. You'll look up one day and be like, holy shit, we have 8 stores. Holy shit, we're doing these numbers. We're having this many people show up to the event.
These opportunities.
Right. Those all come.
Not only now are you a manager, now you're a regional manager. Right. Like, then you're, whatever the next step is.
Keep your head down.
I love that focus, that for everything.
Right.
I'm a father now. So like, this just popped in my head, but like, that needs to be instilled into kids at a young age, right? Through tasks, through whatever they're doing. But I look at this fence right here, and I remember my dad, we were staining a railing. You
can't see the fence. There's a fence.
Can't see the fence. There's a fence. But imagine you have to single hand paintbrush stain every single board, right? And if you're looking all the way at the finish line, holy crap, that's a lot of boards. I'm going to be here for days. Right? But if you focus just on I remember my dad, just one at a time, dude.
Yep.
Just focus on the one at
Just
a time.
do one more.
And then you'd be sitting here, maybe not as an 8-year-old, but you know, it's maybe smoking a cigar and then looking at the beautiful fence that you just painted.
You didn't smoke cigars at 8?
No.
Yeah. Didn't grow up in the South.
Maybe
huh?
had like a one of those sugar cigarettes. You
Yeah.
know?
The bubblegum ones.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, I think that's a great analogy for just life in general.
Sure.
And I think, you know, you guys might see it as you guys hire, you know, younger people, and we're not like super, I don't know, we're not super old and wise
That's
just
right.
yet.
Not old.
But we've seen it with employees that come up through or don't last through the nutrition corners, through Core Nutritionals and everything that we have going on, that entitlement or just that impatience more so is what we're talking about. They're thinking so much about trying to be that regional manager,
Right.
but they're not doing the things that get them to that regional manager position because they're not focused on doing their spreadsheets right or doing the daily tasks of running the store right or doing their transfers right. They're, you know, because they're so focused on like, well, why come I'm not regional manager?
Yep.
Well, you're not painting that one pillar of fence. You're not taking it one at a time.
Right.
They're not
No.
regional manager because they're focused on being regional manager.
Right.
Right.
Exactly.
That was
So I think that's a great, just something or a value to instill at a young age that I think we're, you know, we maybe are missing a lot these days, you know, because I think this younger generation of people coming to work, they're just coming out of college expecting $100,000 and you know, working, you know, well, no, right? Like life doesn't really work like that.
Right.
And at certain occasions it might, but you get where I'm going.
So
Go ahead, Kevin.
I have a confession. Sorry, kind of going back to the sample triad, but like kind of like getting too a little bit too focused on the numbers here. But the confession with like getting prepared for it is, and sorry if I'm getting a little off topic here, but
Amateur.
This is what it's about, getting off topic.
I'll bring it back.
We're going, yeah. I'm bringing it back. You'll bring it back. But I have a confession. You guys, like, it's you talked about, you know, we always have kept, you know, it as a customer appreciation day more than a try and make a bunch of sales day.
Yep.
The sales can definitely be a measure of like how successful our event was, and obviously
Naturally,
the money is the lifeblood of the company.
Sure,
I'm not going to sit here and pretend
you
like
can't run a bigger event unless you have revenue or profit, really,
has to make sense.
to put it back in. Right, the reason you're able to do these tents, to add 2 trucks, 2 vendors for food, you know, porta potties, like, come on, that's a big deal.
Yeah,
that costs money.
That costs money, and you can't do that without sales.
Right. So, but preparing for it, I know I've kind of fallen into this mindset a couple of times with over the past couple of years. Is like, okay, how do we make more sales this year? And it just put me in this mindset where it started making the event not cool and not fun. And I've had to kind of like pull myself out of that. And like, luckily I was able to pull myself out of that before we got to the event or before everything was set up for it. But when I really can keep myself, I've had to keep myself in check a little bit of like, put myself back into like, just make it a cool event, just make it a cool day.
Yep.
It's not about making a ton of money. It's not about making a ton of margin. If we break even on all the stuff that we
it's worth it.
yeah, it's a cool day for the customers.
Amen.
Well, and then to add to that, I think it's also important as leaders of the company to not let that bleed into your employees' mind, because then if they don't think that they're hitting certain numbers, that they didn't do what TRIAD expected of them for that day.
Right.
But instead, what you guys want them to focus on is those interactions, is the relationships with the vendors. You know, I think sometimes we as nutrition corners might struggle with that. Like we do get a little bit like, you know, on the numbers sometimes.
Yeah.
And you know, we had ours last year for the first time in we had 2020 off, 2021 off, and we had it this year, 2022, and it wasn't as big as it was in 2019. And we maybe felt a little defeated about that because we were just focused on the numbers.
Sure.
But in reality, we brought that nut bash back. We gave that nutrition corner experience again.
Right.
We got people, we got new relationships with new vendors that we brought in. Like that's a big deal. We got some big names out this year, right? So cool. Like now we're building momentum to continue to build upon this. Let's focus on all that, right?
Right.
It's easy to get focused up on the numbers as a business. Like
you
are not a non-for-profit business. Everybody
yeah, absolutely.
right. Like you need to have profitability to expand. And
even if you're a nonprofit, you still got to make money to
yeah,
pay
you
rent.
got to make money. This is how we operate in this world. So,
Right.
but like I said, it'll come
Right.
if those other things are first.
Well, and I'll give kudos to you, Kevin, because, you talking about even just slightly stressing or thinking about what that has never been passed on. I've never felt that way. And as a person in some leadership role, I don't think any of us have ever felt that way. And so kudos to you of like, even if that is something that you have stressed about, you've never allowed that, like Patrick says, to bleed into anybody else's minds as being a focus at all. Mm-hmm. And so I think it allows us the freedom to just go into it and just make it our version of successful. And our version of successful is just giving the customers a good time, giving them a good experience. Mm-hmm. So kudos to you on that. Kind of bringing it back to what we were talking about. Oh, Patrick's taking a picture. Smile.
Bro, this cigar is really good.
Yeah. Are you just taking a picture of the cigar? Or are you taking a picture of us as well?
Both.
Yeah, okay. He just wants to save the label so he can pick up another one.
I'll get a close up for that.
But, we're kind of talking about this fence post or, like board by board by board.
I like that analogy.
I do too. And I think one of the things that ends up happening, and this reminds me of a video, I'll bring it up in a second, but I think people, when they are looking at the fence and they're looking at, holy crap, there's so many boards, I think people get lost and don't understand their potential because
they shut down.
Right. They shut down. They quit before they ever even give themselves a chance. And so they see an insurmountable hill or something that they view as an insurmountable hill. And then they stop trying. They don't give it the full effort. There's a video I saw, some movie or something cheesy, but it was a football coach and they were doing like bear crawls and you had to have like another player on your back. And, the coach was like, okay, go to the 50-yard line. And they're like, I can never make it to the 50-yard line. And the kid's like, I can never make it there. And then the coach like got on his back, blindfolded him. And then the whole team just cheered him on and cheered him on and cheered him on. And like he takes the blindfold off and he's in the other end zone, and it's like he had gone the whole field. And it was like, it was a testament to just show like, if you don't give up, if you take this an inch at a time, you keep your head down, you do what you're supposed to do today, you can reach whatever potential you want to reach. Yeah. I think to even paint an analogy to, a couple of our employees, I think we look at Ryan, we look at Preston, we look at these people who have like taken it in stride day by day, doing it even when it wasn't fun, especially when it comes to social media. And Ryan, like for people who don't know, at TRIAD, you don't give up tasks to gain new ones, right? It just becomes something else that you do. And if you want something, you've got to go and get it and you've got to take it and you've got to do that by working harder and doing more. Ryan, for 2 years almost, did full-time in the store and close to full-time amount of hours working social media outside of it, answering questions, answering, whatever, doing posts, doing designs, all that kind of stuff. And did that all while still doing all of his hours. We finally got to a point, Kevin, as a company, we got to a point where it made sense to like, for Kevin to pull Ryan's hours out of the store because we needed him to focus more on social media. And it was like, that was taking up his entire time. But I think that if we had somebody who wasn't quite in that same mindset that could have looked at this like, oh, if you want me to do social media, you want me to do all of this? You want me to work all in the store and do all of this? Like, no way, that's not worth it. But Ryan, and I think Preston's a good example of that too, getting to his manager spot and with formulations when it comes to Define is like, no, the way that he did it and the way that you did it was like, put your head down and do it. Take it inch by inch. Take it project by project. Look up one day and be surprised where you are. Be happy where you are because of the steps that you took along this line.
Now he doesn't work in store and he's gotten pay raises and has moved in 2 directions in the right way. So.
Well, when you're also able to focus on something 100%, usually it grows, right? Sure. Like I bet the social media has grown. I bet like a lot of there's sales that come from those that you might not be able to put numbers calculate right away, but like that helps grow the business.
Sure.
Right?
Ryan's got a comment.
I just have to interject. You said cheesy movie. That movie was Facing the Giants, and that's one of my favorite movies.
Oh, sorry. I'm sorry. Well, when did that come out, you think?
Couldn't tell you.
Not crazy long ago. But football analogies and football movies are some of the most
They get it right.
Remember the Titans is top 3 in my list for Till I Die.
Well, I think there's lessons to be taken from those kind of movies and those things that to kind of look at in life, because I do think that is, that blindfold, head down, keep crawling mentality is how certain people in this company and people all over the place outside of the company too have gotten to where they've gotten to. It's not because, Ryan, maybe let's not use Ryan as an example, but just like people in general, a lot of times in companies might be like, oh, well, if you want me to do this, like, well, what am I going to stop doing? Does that mean that I get to stop doing this? Does that mean I get to stop doing that? It's like,
or
what a bad mindset.
Or they'll be like, okay, you want to give me another task. Okay, well, pay me this, then I'll meet that. Right.
Yeah.
And that's what we don't do in our
you want me
company.
to work sample triad too? Well, do we get a bonus that day?
So,
Dude,
one of the things that I really like that you guys brought up on the Boss Status podcast recently was the difference in the mentality, the difference in the response when employees get a new task. And, you know, those employees that get a new task and they're like, oh, more work. And the employees that say, thank you for this opportunity. Thank you for this responsibility.
Yep.
that is a Carl Frady wisdom right there.
I like it a lot.
And him and I are similar in this with working with Doug. And it's, you know, a little bit of my story coming from the nutrition corners to core sales. Doug asked if, like, what do you think about coming on full time for the brands? I'm like, I didn't say exactly yes. Yes, and thank you for the opportunity. But my response was, if you think this is the right step for our business, then I'm on board. Like I'm all in on whatever you need, right? And it's just like, thank you for the opportunity, and I'm gonna figure it out.
I don't think you even necessarily need to say it, but it's the attitude towards it. Yeah,
Sure.
you can tell people's how what they think about the added responsibility.
Yeah.
Right.
Look at a good example for us is we've been expanding our Define Wholesale side, trying to, you know, kind of explore options across the country, relationships that we already have.
Which is very exciting.
Yeah, it's super exciting for us. I mean, one of the most, honestly, from a Define Nutrition standpoint, probably the most exciting time we've ever been a part of, which is incredible. It's super cool to see.
And that was created at the same time, 2016.
Yeah, we started working with a manufacturer the same time we were opening up the store, and released the products in January of 2016. So just several months after the store opened.
So the store technically opened in into 2015.
November of 2015.
Okay.
Yeah, Define in January 2016.
Yep.
But-
And this is something that, like, when you guys, so 2016, so you were basically an in-store, we don't call it house brands, but you were an in-store brand, right? In 2016, it is now 2022, so we're 6 years,
Mhm.
right? Did I do that math correctly?
Yes,
Math is
going
we're almost at 7.
Yeah.
So almost at 7.
7 next.
Core Nutritionals was started in 2005,
Mm.
and nobody really knows that.
Yeah.
And then in 2000, and literally when we changed the branding to the black carbon fiber is when it really started to get its
Recognition,
break,
yeah.
right? And that's 2015, January. The
Yeah.
end of 2014, the beginning of 2015 is when that transition happened. So like almost 10 years.
Yeah, and it
you
happens
know,
that way.
And it's
First Form's got a similar story.
unless you have unless you have like a capital what do you call those people? Capital venture
Capitalists.
venture capitalists, right? VCs, is that what they call them? Unless you have some influx of capital, it's really how you have to grow a brand.
Yeah.
You know,
Inch at a time.
It's
Day by day.
day by day.
What year
Yeah.
did you
One
start?
board at a time.
One
What
board
year
at a
did you
time.
start working at the Nutrition Corners?
So I was hired. I technically say January of 2015. So my first gig was January of 2015. We opened up Virginia Beach Nutrition Corner, which was the third store. And my first gig was doing that event and then spending a week with Carl in Newport News following that event. And then I was in Northern Virginia, so I went back to Arlington Nutrition Corner, and that was the store I took over. So we had those 3 stores when I started, and Core Nutritionals was the only brand. And I was like, to tell you how small, not small, but like to scale it and just give some people perspective. Like, we had an office for a warehouse, and I was fulfilling the online orders out of the retail store. So it wasn't really like a D2C. There wasn't a warehouse.
No.
It wasn't a bunch of wholesale either. And then so 2016 we did 4 stores. 2017 the stores continued to pile on. Now we're at 12. And 2017 is when Andrew, previous rep,
Our first rep.
your first rep,
Mhm.
he was kind of like part-time. He was kind of like in college doing the
Oh
gig.
yeah.
And he went on full time, and then he just took another opportunity, and the spot became open, and that was February of 2017. So I spent
Yeah.
2 years with the Nutrition Corners directly and helps kind of build that. And then I've been with the brands since 2017. I'm still an influential part of the Nutrition Corners. Like I got one manager texting me now. He's like, dude, did we break up? I missed the last managers meeting. So I'm an influential leader in those guys, and
Sure.
I try to be there for them. I'm not in the day-to-day operations anymore. But it's a hat I wear to be,
Sure.
I'm kind of one of the longest tenured guys that works for Doug now. At this point, it's just me and Carl that have been around the longest. And the Nutrition Corners I have a massive impact on, I think, as far as just leadership.
Sure.
You're one of the few guys that saw it on its early stages.
Yeah.
Right. And I'm used as an example a lot, and like we talk about in-store experiences. And when I took over Arlington, it was consistently averaging $1,700 a day it was open in 2010. I came in so for 4 years and never saw $2,000 a day on an average. And so in my first month, I averaged 2,000. Then it went to 2,250, and then it was at 25, and then I was flirting with $3,000 before like I went to open up the next store.
That's a big store.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun, and we still don't operate with multiple employees like you guys do.
No.
So like there'd be times, man, like 60 plus transactions. I'm running around like
Mhm.
chicken with my head cut off.
Absolutely.
And having a ball.
Yeah, man.
Freaking loving it. Just so like just a puppy. Just like,
amen.
oh, hey, welcome in. Like, take a look around.
I've got 9 people, so
Yeah, we're just I'll be with you in 1 second. Okay. All right. Answer these questions. All right. This is what you think you should do with. I'll be at the register in 1 second. Let me go back over here. And you're just bouncing around. And I remember reps coming in and like trying to get a word in and just, introduce me to their product. And I was like, sorry, dude. Like, it's crazy in here. He's like, dude, you're killing it, dude. Just keep going, So those were some fun times. Definitely some fun times. But yeah, so I've been with Doug it'll be 8 years.
nice.
Yeah, so industry.
That's crazy.
I want to get back to kind of your origin story a little bit, but kind of bringing it back to the point that I was making was as Defined Wholesale starting to grow, I think we've had a cool thing that's happened here where one thing I'll pay a kudos to our company here and to Kevin specifically again, but I like that tenure does not equal opportunities all the time. If you are the go get 'em, go get it kind of guy, you can do whatever you want. And I think we have a real good testament to that with one of our newest employees, Ian, who has been like, oh, Defined Wholesale, it's kind of got a hole in it where we don't really have somebody like taking that on. And he's been like, cool. And then just hit the ground running hard with it. We have a couple people, myself included, who kind of dilly-dally in it in their free time. None of us able or like want to do it.
It's hard.
Yeah, like
it's a full-time job.
None of us at a point where we can do it the way that somebody needed to.
Yeah,
Alyssa and I were talking about that on the way in. That he just is in just about the perfect spot because you've dabbled with it, Preston's dabbled with it, but you guys have responsibilities that take up a lot of your time, so you only have so much to give to that area,
Right.
and Ian, being so new, doesn't have a whole lot of extra responsibilities right now. He's already graduated, so he's not going to school, isn't working another job, so he's got a decent amount of free time.
Yeah, and killing it in every aspect.
And he's killing it. And he's coming on with a little bit of experience. I know he's worked at some supplement stores, I think, while he was in school.
Mm-hmm.
He's worked in the gym industry for a while, and he's come on with enough experience for us to trust him with these things, but without the responsibilities that some of our seasoned employees have. And it's just that perfect spot where it just works really well. And we started giving it to him a little bit. I know you talked about, if you're a go-getter, you can't just kill it for a couple of weeks and expect to be handed, the second highest position in the company. But he's yet to, let us down in any department.
Right.
So the more he works harder, the more opportunities that we're going to continue to give him.
But this brings me back to what you guys have both said in this. When he was presented this opportunity, he said, thank you. let me kill
Right.
this. Let me do everything I can. And is now worked for the company for how long? Not very long at all, sub 6 months, and is going on the second ever Define wholesale trip ever.
Yeah.
He's going on the second one we've ever done. And it's like because he saw an opportunity and ran with it and was said, thank you. Don't give me less, give me more. Thank you for giving me this opportunity. And not like you guys were talking about where it's like you have people who kind of like shy away or say, what more can I do? Or like, what can I get rid of? Or what are you going to pay me? Like, he's just like, cool, I want to do this. This seems like a long-term idea for me that would be really cool. Why don't I just go do it? And why don't I do it as well as I can? And, he's learning as he goes. He was talking about meeting today where he's very honest, like, I don't really know what I'm doing, but I'm trying to do it the best that I can. But his attitude, his mindset is the correct formula to be successful in this realm.
Yeah.
Agreed.
I'm excited to talk more with him. I know you've
He wants to talk to you for sure.
Yeah. Because I think there's a lot of things that, so one of our core values is figure it out. If you guys don't have a set of core values, I strongly suggest you guys get in a team meeting and solidify them and put them in stone. It's been like, Doug has these coins now that he gives out. Like so I nominate if like collect the gold dust. I don't know, it's one of ours. So like, be mindful of company money. Kevin, I'm gonna toot my own horn for a second. I'm sleeping on the couch. I'm collecting the gold dust. I'm not buying a hotel.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Right. You can nominate me for that. Right?
Sure.
So we have these coins that get handed out, and they're just really meaningful. And it is just like, it's just part of our company, right? Is having those values. And figure it out is one of them.
Yeah.
And it is, so I'm excited to talk to him because I had to figure it out. And I was, I don't know if you guys have brought on Frank Colicino's new brand yet. But Frank Colicino,
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah.
He was one of the first reps to be like, he wanted in the stores, but like he didn't do it for that reason. He was like, dude, I know you're new to this. Come down to Dallas.
Mm-hmm.
I think honestly, one of the first trips I did to you guys might have been in conjunction with Dallas.
Oh yeah.
I might have flew to Dallas, drove down here for the event, and back up to Dallas.
Yeah.
Literally think that's what it was. And then spent the next week with him. And he just like showed me the ropes. He just we're gonna hit these stores in Dallas.
You taking Ian home with you?
Could. Could. That's, I know like there's interest in trying to get into the nutrition corners, and we've talked about that.
Sure.
And one of the best ways to do it is to go build a relationship with every single manager.
Amen.
Do a Virginia tour. You want to be in Virginia, the nutrition corners are probably the biggest retailer in Virginia. Spend three-ish days in Virginia. Start flying to DC, and then hit the Northern Virginia stores. Go down to Virginia Beach and fly out of Norfolk, and then you did yourself a trip. And building that relationship with the managers. Like I can't do anything for I be like, hey, this is the TRIAD guys with their brand.
Sure,
they're awesome supporters of ours. I really would like you to guys take a look at it.
Right.
But after that, I can't do anything.
Yeah, what are they?
Right.
Yeah.
So like, I love the fact that he's on the road. That's a massive part
Trying
of
to
doing
do it, man.
I think we know where the third trip's going to be.
Hey,
that VA.
Yeah.
2 up, 2 down.
Yeah.
Why not?
Yeah, do it. I'm telling you, do it. Build that. This traveling is super important.
Yeah.
Like one of our guys for arms race, he's servicing a national retailer in GNC, but he literally, nobody does this anymore. He put 80,000 miles on his van in 1 year.
Ooh.
And did multiple East to West Coast trips.
Yeah.
And it takes a very special person to do that. Shout out to David Dodrell. Not everybody can do. I can't do that.
No.
I got to be more strategic and stuff. But that's huge, right?
Yeah.
And the amount of support that he's given, and he's in there selling for the stores as well,
right?
And that's always something that I've tried to learn on the retail side or on the sales side. Is like, I'm gonna go in that store. I'm not just gonna go like, hey, this is who I am. Here's our sales sheet, or our product sheet with prices. Here's some samples. I'm gonna call tomorrow, follow up, or whatever.
Right.
Spend 30 minutes to an hour in there, hang out.
Yeah.
Build a relationship. At the same time, sell for that store. Don't sell if your brand's already in there. Don't just sell your product. Sell what's right for that customer.
Right.
Right. And that has been something I've learned really early on that I really enjoy doing is like, okay, somebody's with a customer. This customer just walked in.
Yep.
Well, I'm gonna talk to them.
Yeah.
Right.
I'll
And get to know them and say, what's your goals? And like, hey, we're gonna figure out some products for you. And it might not be my products.
Sure.
Right? You know,
It's not about that.
But I'm doing that because I love to do that. But at the same time, there is business benefit from that. Oh wow, that guy from Core Nutritionals came in and he was selling Cybation Extend instead of Core ABC. You know, because that's what they
made more sense.
That's what they wanted. Right?
Right.
So yeah. I went on a little bit of a tangent.
No, that's good. That's definitely good information for you.
Yeah, I'm really excited to talk to him.
Yeah, I think.
Look here, kid.
You
You want to make it in this? You got to eat ramen noodles and tuna packets.
You got to be a
Tell him what's up. Yeah, really emphasize the collect the gold dust.
Yeah.
Collect that
Spend
gold dust,
nothing.
man.
Well, I think you touched on it, but it is a really important aspect that I think people can glamorize at times, right? It is the, oh, you're out on the road, like, oh, you get to travel, you get to do this. And it sounds super glamorous until you're actually doing it. I remember Chad and myself did the first Define wholesale trip. We did 1,400 miles, 20 stores in a Saturday, Sunday. We went Oklahoma City.
There wasn't a lot of time in those stores.
More than you think. More than you think, man. We were all over the place. Like, luckily, we went Fayetteville, Joplin, Springfield, Columbia, St. Louis, Illinois side of St. Louis, Kansas City, Kansas side of Kansas, like Mo and Kansas side of Kansas City, and then back down in a weekend.
Yeah.
And boy, we were so cooked at the end of it. This is a funny story. We were so brain busted at the end of it that when we got back, my car battery had died. I don't know if I left my lights on or something. I hooked up the jumper cables backwards, almost totally fried Chad's SUV because like my brain was just, I had nothing left.
Yeah.
Nothing.
That was were you guys doing mega bangs that weekend?
Oh, I'm sure we were. Mega
man.
bangs. That's when you mix pre-workout and bang together.
Golly.
We didn't.
That was when Bang was still probably had the bullet going through the can.
I
It
think so.
absolutely did. Yeah.
Pass a lighter. I went out. But yeah, like especially when you're cold calling on a sales trip and your product's not in there, dude. I remember like almost having you sit in the car for a little bit. And you finally got to that destination, been driving a little bit, and then it's like you have to have a conversation with yourself and get yourself
Luckily, there was two of us, so we could talk to each
hyped
other.
up enough to go in there and be ready for no's and like get the fuck out of my store.
Yeah.
You know,
Or just a kid too busy with 9 customers.
right. It's not easy, you know. So it's the best way to do it is being on the road and building those relationships and earning trust.
Yeah.
You know, I think it's the same thing, and I think coming from the retail side of things does help me in the sales side. That you still have to you have to build trust with the clients.
Mm-hmm.
You got to build trust with the
You gotta set yourself apart.
You know,
We gotta. There's gotta be a reason. You know what I mean? Like we get samples, we get options for things all the time, and it's like, man, it's tough to when I can put Patrick's face, that beautiful face of yours, to a brand. It's like, oh well, now when I look at Core, I see Patrick. You know, and it's like that changes people's dynamics when it comes to how they view their products or products that they want to bring into the store. Because if you don't have that, it's just another. You know. It's just another needle in the haystack. You know what I mean? Like it's another brand that it's hard to differentiate at times.
it's a saturated world out there.
Amen.
Super saturated, more so than ever. So
How often are you going into stores that don't carry Core?
not often anymore.
Sure. Of course, big brand.
Oh,
now.
it's in everywhere. So
What's that?
it's a lot more places.
It's in a lot more places.
Only in TRIAD and OKC though.
Hey,
Right. My job has changed as well. You know, I don't travel as much. Like 2019, I traveled a lot.
Yeah.
And I prepped that entire year, and that was definitely one of the most proud years I've had.
Yeah.
But I would see there would be an event because we were in a lot of places, so there'd be an event on a Saturday. I'd leave on a Tuesday and plan to infiltrate the area arriving to that spot, right? Especially if say it was TRIAD, right? Like not really interested in going around in Oklahoma City, but like maybe in the DFW area for because an area like that takes 2 or 3 days to be
really
effective, right? Like certain areas of the country, you do need to like spend several days in just one spot, right? So I would do a lot of that. I'd plan, all right, so there's an event here, and then I would leave on a Tuesday and go work my way up to that event, do the event, and then as soon as the event was over, sometimes I would just drive through, like, because I just want to be home at that point, and I'm trying to spend time with my fiance or wife, you know, whatever she was at the time, you know, because I've been doing it for a little while, so I can have that Sunday. But man, there was times I would do that. I remember one that was in Kentucky, and I couldn't make it back in one night, so I stopped in Tennessee halfway, and then finished the drive early Sunday morning, and then at like Sunday noon, 1 o'clock, I got home, said hi, I emotionally broke down. I started crying.
Sure.
Just the rush of just driving and just spending all week on the road and doing an event and then trying to make it back and holding that like responsibility, that weight on your shoulders of trying to be, you know, a good husband. Man, it just hit me like a ton of bricks and I just got emotional.
Yeah.
It was crazy. Yeah. So, the road is it's a tough job.
It's
Yeah.
different than just grinding at home.
Totally.
Mhm.
Now, I think COVID changed a lot of things. 2020, the travel stopped a little bit. We started to really transition a lot with our growth in 2020. We rebranded to the white packaging.
Looks great.
Yeah, it is really great. Oh, dude, I got to show you. We have a new van.
Mm.
So now we have 2 vans, and this one's just core, and it like fades from black carbon fiber up to white with red. I have like new label like vision. Now.
That would stand out.
Like the old carbon fiber with the new carbon fiber have a baby, and now it's like
I mean, that's cool. Like, I'm sure it's a great design, but it's even kind of cool that it has that story behind it. Like this, we've transitioned from this to this.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like we could do like a cool limited Fury or like something like that.
Yeah.
So I'm excited for Define. I'm excited to talk to Ian. I do feel like you guys are in a position because I think what you've done with the brand is that you've kept it at home.
Mm-hmm.
You've built up some revenue for the brand. You've put it back in, just continue put it back in. Put it back in. You got a bunch of products now. You've got a rebranding, and I think you guys are definitely ready for that. You know,
that's
that
good to
next
hear.
step.
Yeah,
because a lot of you always wonder, do we have enough?
Are we there
enough?
yet?
Yeah, are we? Is it the right time? Because we're sitting with 3 products and it doesn't make a whole lot of sense.
Right. And maybe there's never enough time. There's never the right time.
That's a good
right.
point,
Sometimes you just got to do it. And like I said on the phone, and we'll talk more about it, but you just got to stick to the principles of the brand, right? Don't sacrifice the brand's values for what maybe that retailer is telling you.
Yeah.
You know what? At this time, I don't know if that retailer is right for me because they're looking for something different. Let me go and find the people that are seeing past that, right? That pricing or that or whatever that case may be.
Yeah.
And then just build the brand on that, on those that foundation. And then as the brand grows, that guy that was telling you he wasn't going to take that brand for X amount of price, well, he might be coming back and asking for it. You know, that's something I learned early on because you know, pressure from Doug is like, we want to be everywhere and anywhere. And so like, I'm trying to get into retail stores that literally don't make sense from a brand.
Yeah. Right.
They're selling pro hormones and pre-workouts.
It's a big thing
you know,
for
like,
us.
And Core is not, it is a premium nature brand that is goal driven, and it is to be sold as a premium product, right? So it takes a special person to relay that information
and appreciate
on a retail and appreciate it, right? And for all that the value that is worth. And not every retailer is like that. And that's okay. Right? Like I learned early on, like that's okay. Like I really I'll come back 6 months, poke them again, 6 months, poke them again, you know, and then eventually, you know, you might land that account. But in the beginning, you just might just gotta move on from them, you know, keep them in my back pocket. But right now they don't seem like they fit.
Honestly, you probably don't even need to talk to Ian. He could just listen to this podcast.
Yeah. Hey, man.
Yeah.
I mean, like we do some of the boss status that with Carl. We did one on our origin story. We did one on our core values. And those are literally made for our employees and our staff because we can't.
But anybody can listen.
And you're starting to do this, I think, with this podcast. It's a leadership podcast.
Sure.
You're starting to grow to, you said 14, but 15 plus people. It's a lot of people to sit, or you can't even fit them in your back room anymore. So like, it's good to have these leadership conversations, these influential conversations that they can kind of look back on and listen to and find, their nuggets out of it.
Yeah.
So I think it is important to have those, because you can't always do it in person.
2 things. First off, so that he can stop screaming at his computer screen right now, we do have a set of core values created by another one of our leaders, Anthony. So Anthony has been screaming for the last 20 minutes that we do have core values. I made them.
Is this thing live?
Is he, no, but he will be. He will be for sure. So Anthony, shout out to you for the core values. They're awesome. They're hung up at both of our locations.
Yeah. He's a great one to have done that too.
1,000%. He is a core value person.
He
that
is.
like how he
He's
lives.
a very principled man.
And we want to give a kudos and a praise to just Core itself. There are no secrets that I have an affection for the Core brand. I think we all do, but maybe me for sure, particularly Core Pro, I think is just the most glorious.
I think
tasting.
that is a triad.
My goodness.
Yeah.
It
you
is.
guys, Core Pro, it is probably one of our number 1 selling products. Core Hard is our number 1 selling product.
Really? Huh.
It's for single SKU at least, or product in general. Pro has like freaking 12 flavors or whatever the flavors are now, so it's harder to compare it. But Pro is definitely our most popular protein.
Yeah,
for sure.
But I just giving a kudos to your brand, because I do see a lot of similarities between Core and Define Nutrition, that we have that kind of similar mindset. Like we even go to the extent of cold calling supplement stores in the area and asking them general supplement questions, just kind of honestly pretending to not be a wholesale opportunity. It should just be like, we're a customer and we call and we say like, hey man, these are my goals, what do you recommend, what do you think I should do in this? And we listen to their advice, we listen to what they have to say, and understand, this person maybe say like, hey, some important things: make sure you're taking a good low temperature processed protein, make sure you're taking a full disclosure pre-workout, whatever that kind of looks to, and to see those kind of values. And so a kudos again to Core in general is one of the main signs whenever it comes to us looking or pursuing a retail opportunity, because especially at our size, we want to be very specific on who we go to. And one of the best green flags that comes across is they carry Core Nutritionals. If we see Core on their shelves, we see Core on their social media, we go, these people, they got a really good chance that these guys get it.
Yep.
And if they get it, then they're going to get us, and they're going to get what we're trying to do here.
Did the same thing.
Yeah.
Certain brands. Yeah.
It's a family, man.
Now it gets hard too, because like for example, this is a good example. Great friends with NutriBio.
Mm-hmm.
They have a similar brand. They
Sure.
might have been leaders in the non-proprietary world because they've been around since in late 90s, mid 90s.
Yeah.
But when I see that they're carrying NutriBio, I believe that store is believing in non-proprietary blends and quality products.
Correct.
The difficult part is they also have like 150 plus SKUs as well.
Right.
So it's harder to find a gap.
Right.
So like, but it's the same. Like I look for something that is of quality that our brand sits next to.
1,000%.
If I'm just seeing a bunch of Insane Labs and just pre-workouts and stuff like that on their
Calling
page.
brands out.
Ooh.
Oh, sorry, I didn't mean to.
Yeah,
Well,
sorry.
Insane Labs was the inspiration for Merica Labz. So there's that. Shout out to Insane Labs.
Yeah, but hey, it can be done right.
Right.
It can absolutely be done right. I think Merica Labz does it right. It is that it's that fun brand. It's that kind of off the wall brand on purpose. It's a fun, you have a good time with it, but you also look at the products and you flip around the label and you're like, dang, these are actually super legit.
We were a little bit late to Merica Labz, and I kind of regret it a little bit, because I don't know that
Remember
we
that conversation?
There's a funny story behind this. That conversation
Dude,
started.
we got so many good stories.
Yeah. So I hope you guys have forgiven us since, but we
So many good friendship building stories.
It's all a plan to bring us down because of this.
I don't know that we fully understood what you guys were doing with Merica Labz. That Core fit us really well right off the bat. It was an easy choice. We literally brought in, I think, a case of every single SKU that you guys made right off the bat.
Yeah.
And when you guys came out with Merica Labz, I don't know that we gave it the full attention that we should have, of a brand that stands out as like the strongest, most potent stuff that's out there. but actually good formulas behind it, and something that people will come back for. And Red, White, and Boom, when we first started selling it, it was that pre-workout that I could recommend that I knew people were going to come back and like, that's my favorite that I've ever tried. It was like, I started telling people that this is a customer favorite. If you're looking for something that's strong and well-rounded, Red, White, and Boom is the way to go. And I just had so much trust in it. And it's like, we were a little late to the party, and I know that it really blew up when you guys first released it. And I'm, finding this out like after the fact. But that's an interesting story to kind of touch on.
Well,
too.
and to your credit, we can get into it, but to your credit, we didn't know how we were presenting Merica Labz. Like for a while, Doug didn't even know if he wanted to be the name behind the brand because we didn't know what was going to be perceived by the industry on launching another brand, one that became controversial for whatever people want to make controversy out of. But like it took us a little while when we launched. We were in the nutrition corners to be like, yeah, this random brand's coming to us, and they gave us an exclusive to Merica Labz, Red, White, and Boom, and Stars and Pipes. And yeah, we don't know who it is. It was us. It was us the whole time. But like it took months, I think, before Doug did like a press release type video where he was like, cat's out of the bag, we're Merica Labz.
Right.
So like we didn't even know what we were just like, there's a gap here where people are coming into our retail stores grabbing Insane Labs because the label is pretty catchy. It's a clown on it with whatever going on. But on the back, it's a proprietary blend, right? And you really don't know what you're getting. So we were like, hey, we can do this better. Let's create a label-driven brand. We love Red, White, and Blue. Let's do it around this concept. Did it. But on the back, it's principles that Core Nutritionals sticks to.
Right.
But it took us a while to kind of like have a coming out party,
So we again, hindsight, we definitely didn't make the right moves now that we have all the information. And we started seeing these brands come out that were very patriotic themed. And we knew you guys had one, but we were still kind of, figuring out all the brands that we were working with. And another company that we were working with, they released one and they were really big on pushing it. We're like, yeah, sure. Okay, we'll bring it in. And we put it and we made a post about it. And Doug didn't have the nicest comment on there.
You know what he said?
Rightfully. I honestly don't. It was Eric Titlow was working at the store at the time, and he was taking care of messages and comments. And he's like, hey, I just deleted it. It wasn't great.
That means it was good.
Deleted Doug Miller's comment.
And again, like from his point of view, I completely understand. You called me the next day and you were like, all right, here's the full story. Here's more information about it. And I was like, oh, okay, yeah. I get
Doug is the owner of Core and Merica Labz.
I don't remember the exact conversation. I remember the conversation. I remember being in my car in the parking lot of my apartment at the time before going in. And like, it was one of those confront the brutal facts conversations that are very like, I don't like, I've had to get better at having these conversations. They're tough, right? Like
you did a great job. You were very cordial.
Yeah. Thank you. But I just remember it like being a heavy conversation that I need to have. Like, dude, like you guys are like the biggest supporters of Core Nutritionals. And here we are really trying to get legs on this one brand. And then you bring in a freaking brand that literally copied our shit.
I'm still embarrassed.
Yeah. That brand I don't think is around anymore.
I don't think so either.
No. So
we don't work with any other
Fun
products.
fact, I think you do know. Do you know how we were originally introduced to Core?
Oh, this is a good story too.
Like originally introduced to Core?
You guys tell the story. All I know is that shit. The name escaped me now. We just talked about him. I'm sorry. Andrew had the relationship. And so maybe some samples were sent out. I don't know. So you tell me.
So this is, I won't call it my proudest moment, but I'm sure happy it happened. So Andrew calls Supplement Superstores.
Oh,
I am the assistant manager of Supplement Superstores at the time. And he says, hey, we're really interested in getting an S2. We didn't even have like, I think Supplement Superstores, just at the size that they were getting pretty consistent, people reaching out to that.
Yeah.
Where it was like, we were just supposed to send them to the customer service line, like customer service email, like whatever. The typical, like,
very strict methods.
Very strict. For anybody who doesn't know, exceptionally strict to get into Supplement Superstores. And I was like, I was a little broke, didn't have a lot of money. And I was like, yeah, send a box of samples. Name Thomas Oglesby. Put that right on the box. He shipped a big old box of samples of all the Core products, all the nice bags, showed up to the store with my name on it, and I took that sucker straight home.
Oh yeah, no, it was sitting in our apartment. It wasn't at the store; it was in our apartment.
Yeah, no, because it got shipped to the store, and I brought it home.
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah, you know what? I just don't want to pay for supplements for the next couple weeks, so I'm just going to use.
Did
these.
you know anything about the brand?
Not a clue. Not I honestly, in retrospect to the story, no offense to Andrew, I didn't even know who it was. I just yeah sure, whatever.
Like, I'll take some subs.
Yeah, sure, send them to me. I'll take them.
Dude, anybody working in a supplement store is definitely like looking. I mean, that's the perk of working in a supplement store.
Hey, right. But I was very selfish, and I wanted them all for myself, so I brought them home and then shared them with my roommates and stuff.
Very nice of you.
Yeah, and then we started trying them, and we're like, well, these are pretty good.
Looking at the labels, I remember so the first time I'd ever seen the Core brand, you guys had already transitioned to the carbon fiber labels, and
so the samples that you got were new carbon fiber.
Yes.
Was there some older? Did you get a sample bottle with like? Man, I missed those. They were like pre-filled, like say Core Pro or Core PWO. It was a STC did them. I don't know if you ever had the opportunity to do them.
Oh, I know what you're talking about.
They're the clear bottles with a little bit of label on there, and they're ready to drinks, but you just had to add water. So they were sealed.
They did those with
a serving in there, and then you just poured your water and you shook it up in that little plastic bottle.
Genius idea.
Right. So cool.
I can't believe those never really caught on for RTDs. Much better than the traditional.
Bring them back.
A lot less processing for those too.
Right, way better of a processing
it's
method.
People just don't understand that can legitimately be more bioavailable.
Like tremendously more.
Right. So so that's what I was curious. So you did get samples of the newer
they
brand.
were packets, and we enjoyed them, and then kind of kick over because this is when Kevin had been using them as well, and then
I remember grabbing a couple of them because you had the box of the samples just on our counter at the loft in Springfield, and I remember looking at the labels, I was like, holy crap, and it was like, man, this is actually like.
Do you remember the products?
I think Core Pro was in there. I think Core ISO was in there.
ABC probably.
We
had some wicked white watermelon packets back in the
Fury
day.
was I think Fury was in there.
Yeah. It's funny to think about the stuff
the thing that's it's so cool to me, being a Core nerd, right? Is that here we are talking about these. I mean, looking at it now, the way we do flavoring and the way we do products now, like. Those were probably garbage, to the standard, and at the time, right? But at the standard that we live to today,
they'd never survive.
Those samples don't. Those samples don't. At least to our core nutritional standards,
correct.
Like we trump that now with what we have.
But it came at a perfect time because we had already started our whole business plan for TRIAD, and we had gone through the process of like. Making a list of all the brands, all the products that we want to bring in, how much it's going to cost us in inventory. And we were kind of struggling to find, it's like, man, okay, we can carry this massive variety, all the stuff that people want. But when it comes to a brand that we really rely on, we were kind of struggling with. Like, I know we were looking at All Max. I did like All Max a lot more back in the day than I do now. It's still a great brand, but like we were trying to work with them and we were struggling a little bit. We weren't able to get much back. Like we weren't even sure if we were going to be able to carry them or not. I was like, okay, if we don't have them, and well, who else do we have?
Right.
And I remember seeing the Core Nutritionals packets and grabbing a couple of them, trying them, and I kept them. Like even after I used them, I kept the empty packets, and I showed Chad and Vincent of like, hey, I think I found a legitimately really good brand that we could work with in TRIAD, and they both were stoked about it right off the bat. So,
well, think back 7 years ago, 7-8 years ago, how many brands were low temperature processing their protein? How many brands were coming out with like stuff that we see in the market now where it's like it's so much better than it was 7 years ago or 10 years ago, where it was like, oh, you want a low temperature processed protein, or somebody even knows what that is, and it's like you've got 2 options. Now there's 20, but it's back in the day, you guys were really just looking for quality stuff, and it's so
a lot harder to find.
Well,
and
but what a funny meant to be. You're welcome, Patrick.
Yeah, that's a fun.
You're sitting here now because I was a selfish college kid.
You were freeloading.
We would have got you somewhere, one way or the other.
Yeah,
but
that smile of yours would have got us.
Yeah, and speaking to that, like we feel like we're innovators when it came to non-proprietary blends and things like that because we've been around since 2005, and not a lot of people knew that. But now it's hard to say that. Hey, like we're a non-proprietary blend. Okay, I know everybody else is in here too, but like we were the first ones,
Right.
kind of come out with
Yeah.
that. So like your conversations are kind of changing
It
because
doesn't stick out
the
anymore.
standard for the industry is much higher, and the entry to market is a lot easier for a lot of brands now.
Yeah.
It's the consumers are also way more educated now,
Yeah.
and they're looking for certain standards in your supplements now. And
You talk to a TRIAD customer, and it's like they are educated
Oh, yeah.
people. They know what they're talking about.
I wonder why.
Yeah.
I wonder why.
But, kudos to you, though, because, you guys saw innovation back then, but I think that you guys have stuck to that core value of continuing to innovate, because we start to see things even today, core, kudos to you and lay it on you here, but it's like when we get a new core product, we are so excited about it because we know that, and just like everything, but we know that there's a chance that we're going to be absolutely stunned by it. And I think a perfect example of that was Core Pro. Like, you want to talk about innovation? That is like, to me, a blended protein flavor sets the standard now. It is bar none. Nothing competes with it in my head.
Yeah.
When it comes to flavor, obviously quality, but that's never been in question. But it's like the flavor of it is, it's so simple. Somebody comes into the store and they say like, oh, but protein powders are gross. And I go, oh, do you like cinnamon stuff? And they're like, well, yeah, it's like, oh, well, let me mix you up this cinnamon French toast, or let me mix you up this cookies and cream Core Pro. Okay. Just scoop 5 ounces of water on the dot and shake, put it in a cup. There you go. That's a protein shake. And they go, what?
You mix this with water?
Amen.
I get that all the time.
Yeah.
Was it just water?
Yep.
Or did you throw some like milk in there?
Nope.
Like,
That is
just water.
5 ounce.
We mix everything in
And
samples with
I
just water.
hold it up and I say, you did a little shot of that. I did a little shot of that. That's all you had left. That's 25 grams of protein. That could be a really solid start to a meal for you, or making sure that you're getting your protein in a day. You think you could do that? Yeah, that was delicious. I would look forward to that. Oh, well, welcome to this being, we talk about something that we instill in all of, our customers and people that we talk to is like the purpose of supplements, right? I'm preaching to the choir here, but it's like, it's to supplement where you fall short. You're eating enough chicken all day? Great. You don't need this, right?
Yeah.
But I look at somebody, male, female, whoever, and I say like, okay, are you getting an X amount of protein a day? Are you even getting close? And they're like, oh, I'm not even getting close. And it's like, okay, cool. Do you think that this is something that could help bridge that gap for you? You wouldn't have to use it all the time. Could be a safety net for you. Oh, I'm going to miss a meal. I'm going to go 6 hours without eating while I'm at work because I'm a nurse and I'm just crazy busy because we're understaffed. Cool. Can you get 5 ounces of water and something to mix this in? Yep. And you can chug that down in about 2 seconds and enjoy it. Cool. Now you're maintaining reaching your goals.
Right.
It's that simple. And it's like, but when we're talking about innovation, that's an innovation now, where it's like, where before you guys were, some of the first people to do non-proprietary and starting to look at real quality of supplements. Well, now it's like, I can make these innovations elsewhere. And you guys have continued to push that needle and continued to push that standard across your products for as long as I've been in the industry and been associated with you guys.
And that is something that I when I'm preaching, we are leaders of innovation. Like, I'm not trying to knock brands. This is not what I'm trying to do.
Of course.
You brought up Almex, and I think maybe there's not as much interest maybe now as maybe it used to be. And they're a very big, very, very big brand. They're bigger than Core Nutritionals. But I don't think they've innovated their products or changed their. How many different Fury iterations have been in your retail stores since you've started carrying Fury?
A lot.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, so every year, like we're like almost updating, like we're coming out with a Fury V2, in the new year at some point, right? Like, so like we're doing it there. It's getting really hard. Where Merica Labz is on a pre-workout craze right now. And like, so we have F-Bomb on the shelf, Napalm. You got the original Red, White, and Boom. We have a Castle Bravo coming, which is one of the biggest nuclear explosions to happen, but just was a test. We have a Z-Bomb coming, and like we're like, it's getting really hard to formulate.
Yeah.
But like, shout out to Dave and Doug and our R&D team is like, we're constantly researching and looking for what's new. We're going to Supply Side West in the beginning of November and looking for new trademark companies that have like their new innovative, ingredients that we could start to utilize. And that's what we constantly are doing, is we're looking for, and if it starts to get a little bit of out to date, especially pre-workouts, like, you got to switch it up because
Amen.
you know how many people are coming
quick.
into your stores.
You got to do it quick.
Hey, what's the newest pre-workout you got, or what's the next hardest hitting pre-workout?
I've done Red, White, and Boom 3 times in a row. What else you guys have? Happens all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah. You got to constantly be moving.
3 times in a row, man. You need to start mixing it up. That's when you're like, have a Red, White, and Boom on hand, but then if it's feasible, have another pre-workout that is, and you're alternating those throughout the week, so that way you're not always running that same pre-workout. Maybe have a lighter day, and you know maybe 1 scoop of Fury would be a great alternative to that. And
I think my reaction, most new things that you come out with, especially if they are like a newer formula, my reaction is almost always the same, where we all know and trust you guys to always use good ingredients, good doses, but we always end up getting it. I'm like, huh. And it's like, and my reaction's that way because it's unique and it's not something. It's a lot of times you guys are putting in a few new ingredients at maybe some new patented stuff that's really promising. Really,
Stuff we have to Google.
Yeah, stuff. There's always stuff. At least a couple of things we have to Google. But it's the combination of the types of ingredients that you put together. You just put them together in a way where no one's really ever done that before. So it takes me a second to wrap my head around it. But once I finally kind of start to get the point of it, and we all kind of get on the same board, like on the same page with it, then it's like, oh, no one else is doing this. Like, okay, well, when someone needs, is coming in and saying this, we'll recommend this, and we don't even have it. No one else even makes anything like it.
Right.
It's I love the word synergism. But Doug talks about this all the time, is that there's an art to formulation. There's some brands that will just take, trademark ingredients are the hottest thing, right? So if you can throw a bunch of trademark ingredients in your product, it can look really cool.
Yeah.
But if you're just kitchen sinking trademark ingredients into a product without the art of formulation,
the dance,
it gets all washed,
Yep.
right? So like it is important to match certain ingredients with other ingredients to create a complete like experience within that supplement.
It's
that's
a fun thing.
Yeah. So like, yeah, we're formulation nerds, like at the end of
Amen.
the day, like we love creating new stuff, and it will always be that way for our brands. We just are always looking for the next thing, looking to mix things up, and see how we can continue to push the limits on the brand. And 1, to lead in the industry, but 2, just mainly because we freaking love to do it.
Yeah.
And so we'll do that just for as long as the brand.
Well,
figures out.
everything you guys release, everyone gets genuinely excited for it.
And the great thing about you guys, and toot your horn again, is there's no question. Hey, Alyssa, got a new product, got Hydrate coming out. How many do you want at each store? and at this point, I kind of know the numbers now. I'm like, did you want 6 at Quail and 4 at Norman?
Yeah.
All right, good.
Yeah,
Right, cool.
I got you. Well, it's already on the way.
Yeah.
I think you're the only rep that she trusts. Like if you guys come out with something new, like right as she's ordering, I think she's the only one to trust. Like you don't even have to ask her. You just throw it on there and she's like, okay, good. I'm glad you did that.
Yeah.
Where anybody else, she'd get super mad at just adding stuff to her invoice.
Yeah.
Well, and I think, something that I do want to say, and I think it is an important thing to say, like, I want to thank you and you guys as a brand for, in a lot of ways, being a really solid inspiration on how to do your brand and how we look at Define Nutrition and how we look at some of the things that you've done and look at the things that Core has done and not mimic them, but like look at it as like an inspiration of a path to take, and that you can rely on quality. You can look at that and never back down from quality ever. Not even being an option. Even from our first Define Ways that we made, our first 5-pounders, where we were disclosing the amount of isolate versus concentrate in each scoop. And I remember one of the first manufacturers we talked to about it could not understand why in what world somebody would want to do that, because you couldn't drop your quality without changing your label. And we're like, yeah, exactly. What do you and he's like, well, I don't understand why you'd ever do that. And we're like, well, you're clearly not who we need to work with. So, but I think it's been really cool to see you guys and your push of innovation and stuff like that. In a lot of ways, we try to mimic that in our own ways with Define Nutrition of, not to disclose too much, but reformulations, pushing the newest, the best, moving things off of the labels, putting things onto the labels, but always maintaining, obviously the integrity and the core values of the brand, but just to continue to push innovation and push what we do in a lot of ways. I know in in our R&D side of things, I know we look to you guys as an inspiration for those things and as a way to get it done the right way.
Yeah. I'm excited. Like I said, stick to your guns.
Yeah, always.
Like, stick to your principles. Don't waver from them.
Never.
And like, it sounds like Ian's going to be the guy, like, believe in the product, right? Like, if you stick to it, you believe in it, it will start to, there'll be people that want to be a part of it, right?
Yeah.
Like, and then that's where you get started from there, and then it'll just snowball.
So, totally off topic question, but
Yeah,
something
where
I
are
think-
we? What time? It's getting dark. This is nice. This ambiance, got the lights on.
I like the podcast out here.
We're just over an hour and a half.
Not
Oh
bad.
man, we're killing it.
Yeah.
Crushing it.
Oh, yeah, there you go. Hashtag.
I'm glad you always correct me. I wish I would have corrected you on that. Anytime I say kill it,
I
Patrick
usually
looks
say-
at me and says,
I do it to everybody.
Yeah, I figured. You did
but
it so instinctually.
yeah, I do it. It's just like, it's just my lifestyle.
So question, do you and Sam get often referred to as a power couple?
Yes. It happened a lot more in our. So Sam is my wife. She came on board in 2018, and so she moved to live with me and to start our relationship in 2016. And during that time, we kind of were like, even through Instagram posts, like we were like the crush it couple. It's kind of like what we kind of, called ourselves. I was Mr. Meaty Thighs. She was
That's right.
Mrs. Meaty Thighs.
That's right. I remember the meaty thighs
Yeah,
days.
the Meaty Thighs days. So we do definitely get referred to that. Not as much lately, I would say. And that's not because we've stopped being a power couple, but maybe we're not talking about it as much, or
I mean, maybe we're more active.
she was more
within the-
active. She is not as active on social as
She's a mom now.
She's a mom, and just like we've also, man, I don't know if you guys go through this, but sometimes I freaking hate social media. I really despise it, and this is where like I've been
Ryan is nodding his head.
and like I feel like it's a job and a task and one that I don't want to do, and I feel like I'm forced to do it because it's like it is a very important part of marketing and building a brand. So there's these moments where like we just get so tired of it, and she's done a much better job of it than I have. But Sam is similar to Alyssa, where like she's a behind the scenes girl. She doesn't want it. Like she's the operations, I'm the sales, marketing. I'm the face. Right. And that's kind of like our tag team, right?
Yep.
She doesn't want to be kind of like the face all the time.
Yep.
So I think maybe that's some of the reasons she's just not as active as she used to be on it.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
It's for you did a good job explaining. Like Sam is Patrick's wife. Both of you guys work at Core. She was the one we requested for the podcast. We got the second best Patrick.
She's
we're
way prettier than I am.
Hey, not wrong.
Hey, girl, hey.
But yeah, no, it's there's a lot that I know at least I've kept up with, and I would assume Alyssa as well. We look to you guys because you guys are doing such big things at a much bigger company, but have very similar roles that Alyssa and I do here. Work together on a regular basis. We're going to work. Well, we work at the same place. We've got different schedules now, but and are at home together. And I think people would know I'd be lying if I said that didn't cause some issues and cause some tension at times. And it can be a job to just maintain a good relationship while we're working together. And looking to you guys and just generally how you guys operate has been a way for us to kind of have a standard to shoot for.
Yeah. Well, it's not many people do it. Not many people can do it. I remember when she was in 2018 coming on board, we took a big pay cut. She was very successful at her job, was making a lot of money, but was crying when she'd come home, just miserable, right?
Yeah.
So Doug said, hey, 2018 is going to be a big year. We're going to bring on Sam. And I'm like, what'd you say?
Oh, he decided.
Yeah, he is the first one to mention it.
I always figured it was you that pitched, Doug and Core the idea.
Well, we had been struggling for a support role for me for about a year. We looked at Nutrition Corner employees. We would bring one over, and it just wasn't working. So like literally when Sam came on board, it was me and her in sales. She was like customer service and inside sales with my travels, right?
Remember
so
that.
like I was sending her, hey, I'm on the road. These are orders that I'm getting. Can you process them?
Right.
Et cetera.
Remember the Alyssa Sam email chains?
Yeah. So she was in that role, and then she just it just took on more, and she's super capable. But yeah, we were literally doing the same role in a sense, right?
Not even just the same place of work, but
And we were
literally the same job.
and we were in that warehouse at the time. We were working in a conference room. I'm sitting on this side of the table, she's sitting on that side of the table, and we're looking at each other, throughout the day. I think the keys is developing your own routines within that. So we never drove together. We still don't. Even when gas got up to like $5, we should try to drive together to work. Like, I just got a truck and now gas is $5.
Yeah.
So we did a couple times a week, but like we still are operating. We have a dog and now we have a child. So like who's going to take the dog out in the morning? Who's going to do it in the evening? And so like, and then our workout schedules. So we developed our times away from each other because that's important. Right. So like driving separate from to work and working out separate, occasionally on the weekends we'd get together and work out together. Those are always fun. But then there was times at home where like, and it's still today, like it is work. Just because you work a 9 to 5 doesn't mean you work in our shoes, doesn't mean you work a 9 to 5. It's just all the time. Right. So like when we get home, a lot of our conversations are around work, but there's times where like we've had to look at each other and be like, all right. And this is when we called each other schmoopies. But like, hey, we need schmoopy time. Yeah. Like work's done. Yep. And then so like we'll go into husband and wife mode. Yeah. And then that's when like we're just talking about our life, our family. Right.
What's that word that you used?
Schmoopy.
What do you and Alyssa call each other?
Schmoopy.
Do you have a name?
You still call her girl?
I call her girl.
Yeah. Laurel and I are Lubbug.
Lubbug?
Yeah, but we say Lubbug, like Lubbug. Lubbug.
Yeah. We don't do the schmoopy stuff anymore. I don't know if Doug started that or not. Because like, so when in 2015, in the beginning of into 2015 is when we started talking, and I met her on Instagram. She was taking our products. I got that phone order sale first. You know what I'm saying? And then
you're like, oh, do you have any questions on any of your products?
We were messaging a ton, and she was like, this is really eating my data. Can we just like get numbers now? I was like,
she made the first move.
Yeah. And she was still on her parents' plan. I think that was the big thing.
Hey.
But we were used to do the Ask the Boss. I don't know if you remember Ask the Boss in the beginning days with the cell phone propped up. Like,
did you really do that with the cell phone?
Cell phone. The old Ask the Boss stuff, and I would just hold it out like this a lot. And then we ended up propping it up. She wasn't living with me at the time, and she would ask a question, and Doug on Ask the Boss was like, "Is that Schmoopy? Is that Schmoopy poo?" Just making fun of little brother like he does the best.
Yeah.
And I think that's where Schmoopy kind of came out. Doug's given a lot of nicknames throughout the years. He's the one that gave the Meaty Thighs nickname.
Did he?
Yeah.
Okay.
He had a thing for a while, like you're pretty much going to find a nickname, and then you got to roll with it. And that's also like, we kind of rock a little bit of a fraternity,
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And so like, if you can't take your nickname, which one guy didn't, he's not with us anymore, and we still love him to this day. We wish he was around, but he hated his nickname.
That's a great way to guarantee that everyone's going to call you that.
Exactly. Yeah. So you kind of have to just roll with it and take some of the punches. So, but yeah, so I think that's where Schmoopy came from.
Okay.
But yeah, now like we're not in the same thing. Like even before Ryder was born, it was like, she's in operations, I'm in sales, and we're just in different parts of the day, running, working within the company. And so we'd get home and it's like, I didn't see you all day. How was your, that's nice, to kind of be like, like a normal couple comes home from separate jobs and it's like, well, what happened to your job today?
Yeah.
What happened to your job today? Something to talk about. And so we would find ourselves like literally not seeing each other all day because we're running around, and we get to talk about like what happened during the day because we're on different spectrums of the business now, which is really nice.
What's her day to day? Like, what's her like
responsibilities? She's the director of operations, is her title. She is she's the only one that Doug says, like, if anybody had a C-level title around here, it probably would be Sam. Just because she is a catch-all. She's warehouse mom. She does a ton for Arms Race. She's kind of we have a brand manager now, but like for a while she was brand managing a lot of stuff for the Arms Race. She's scheduling emails. She's inventory is a massive thing that she does. Yeah. She manages our inventory, and it is, you gotta
That's a beast.
You gotta be really good at spreadsheets. She's awesome at that stuff. I'm not. Like, that's just not my thing. I am the talker and the person in the store, and that's my thing, right? But yeah, that's what she does. She kind of oversees the warehouse. She works in first response with the warehouse manager and that staff. She runs a lot of our inventory, does a lot of back end stuff with like our web developer, our graphic team. She really is like a catch-all. And then now that she's back, it's been funny. Hey, she can get a text message in a group. Hey guys, warehouse mom is back. The kitchen is looking pretty shitty these days. Can we be sure to hit that, come behind ourselves with, a vacuum and all this stuff. So it's nice having her back.
Yeah.
So yeah,
that's pretty close to what I would explain Alyssa's role. Is anything that needs to be done, she's on it. She's the one that catches all the stuff that everybody else doesn't notice.
Well, and this is not a role thing, male or female, but females, really good, powerful females, are more than likely a little more organized than males. We're a little bit scattered.
Yeah.
Oh,
right?
yeah.
Definitely.
And so, like, it's been one of the best things for our company is having a strong female lead to help with those things. And I see it with Alyssa as well. Things wouldn't operate as smooth without those females in the background, not taking any credit for anything.
Yeah.
But really,
Alyssa literally takes no days off.
Yeah. And she won't. I don't know if she ever will come on a podcast, but more than likely, she's not going to want to be on a podcast.
We're gonna try. But
Yeah, you're gonna keep poking,
Right.
But Sam's the same way. Occasionally, she'll do a story for our Instagram pages and stuff like that. Because literally, we're talking about Core Poise, which is a female product, and nobody else can really speak to it as well as Sam can. So occasionally, she needs to get on the camera.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Have you ever seen our time that we had Alyssa on camera?
Didn't she have like a blacked out face?
Yeah, it's like a blurred out face.
It's so
face
funny.
And like a deep one of those.
I
like,
loved it, and especially
I like to use Core Pro.
And
I make pancakes with it.
and for everybody that knows the dynamic here, it is the funniest thing.
It's so funny. And then she walks away, but the blurred out thing stays, and so you see her face, and she's like, "Did you get that?" It's such a fun. This might be the funniest video we've ever made. That one cracks me up every time I watch it.
Yeah.
Another shout out to Ryan.
Yeah, good stuff.
Man, this might be our first pause.
Yeah.
No,
This
it's all
cigar
right.
has been amazing.
Yeah, mine was great too. I was a big fan. Thanks for picking those up, man.
Yeah.
Let me to kind of segue us a little bit, just because I do think it's a really interesting thing. You obviously had a career in bodybuilding. You did that for a long time. You talked about prep on the road. Can't even imagine that. Don't want to. But where have you? I know that was obviously a big part of your life and took up a lot of time. Obviously, you're a relatively new dad. You've got a lot of different things going on, but I've seen, following on social media and talking to you, I've seen that you've started to do, what's it called again? What it says?
The sport per se, or the competition is called the tactical game.
That's what I'm talking. Yeah. It's a very interesting thing.
Yeah.
So,
not a lot of people know about it.
Yeah, share a little bit about that, because I do think it's a really interesting thing that you've got yourself involved in, and I think our demographic would appreciate it as well.
So to segue to it, the origin of bodybuilding was a passion of mine. I found it in college, and I got really into it. And fitness was my avenue to try to make a career out of bodybuilding. And I got that. I was blessed to be able to start working for Doug, and literally I get paid to be a bodybuilder, technically. So I did the bodybuilding thing. I've competed in since I joined Core after a pro season where I got my butt kicked. And then I took 5 years building the career and building the body. And then in 2019, I was my last competition year, and I did I prepped for 42 weeks.
Ooh.
And was on technically prepping when we went to China. I was traveling literally from February to November of that year, and I did it all in a prep, and it was awesome. It was actually, looking back on it, there was times where, man, did it suck.
Sure.
But like, I had a great coach, and we were very flexible. We had a ton of time, and it paved the way to have a very successful.
Sure, you look back on it fondly.
Oh, totally. Very proud of myself for it.
Absolutely.
I herniated my L4, L5 prior to that in 2017. I recovered from that through exercise. I didn't get surgery. Then after this competition in 2019, started getting weight back on. I started pushing some poundage again. Both of my elbows decided to just go completely out. And so I dealt with medial epicondylitis in both elbows. And I discovered that through COVID when we got put in our houses and couldn't go to the gym. So I was trying to do pull-ups, and I couldn't do pull-ups because of how bad my elbows were.
Wow.
So I was like, dude, I'm done. I'm tired of being freaking hurt.
Yeah.
Right. So, and I know Sam and I were looking to start a family in the near future. I was like, I want to be able to like run around the backyard, cut left, cut right, and just not hurt myself, you know, and just be functional.
Yeah.
So I started looking into more functional activities. So
looking at longevity.
And so I started running more. I started just trying some new things.
Yeah.
During that time, I also got into, Sam and I took an intro to handguns class, started going to a gun range, and we started having date nights like at a gun range. We'd go shoot like 50 rounds, 100 rounds, and then we'd go out to dinner, you know? And I got trigger happy. I was like, man, this is freaking cool. And this is something I'm not that good at yet. So we talked about that before. It's like, I needed a new skill.
Yeah.
Right. So I like to suck at things and try to get better. So shooting was one of them. Well, so some more research. And now like half of my Instagram is like gun pages and like, you know, firearm stuff, you know? So I started to discover this thing called the tactical games. And so the tactical games mixes fitness and competitive shooting in one event. And so the idea is it is a shooting competition where you have to be fast and accurate, but you are under the duress of fitness. So you have to do a fitness iteration and then go to a shooting iteration, back and forth for like 4 or 5 rounds within a 15 to 20 minute period. And then you're scored on that.
Nice.
So
are you scored on time or are you scored on accuracy?
It is both. It is very complicated.
Yeah.
So the tacticalgames.com, if you're interested, go check it out and read the rules. But you have a time, but then for every miss that you have is 10 seconds.
That makes sense.
Off of your added to your time.
Sure.
If you don't complete the iteration given to you, they have ways to. The things that you did not complete are added to your time.
Sure.
Right. So it's based off of time and accuracy.
Nice.
So I competed in the tactical division, and then I finished like 13 out of 26 guys.
Nice.
And I was the fastest guy, just straight raw time.
Sure.
So fitness wise, I was there. But shooting wise, needed a lot of work.
Yeah.
So I do a lot of classes. I work with a guy that's somewhat local to me, like 2 hours away, and I took some private lessons from him.
Very cool.
And so that's kind of been my new venture. I'm kind of hooked on it.
Yeah.
It's an expensive hobby.
Yeah.
Me and my friends are more into guns now, and I'm like, why didn't we get into this like younger? And then it's like, it's freaking expensive, dude.
Yeah.
Didn't have the money.
You know, didn't have any money, you know?
So how much different is it, you know, when you're just at the range and just practicing from that to trying to shoot and trying to aim
exhausted.
Exhausted after you've just carried a bunch of weight and you're breathing heavy. How much is there certain training that goes into shooting under those conditions?
So I think the cool thing about it is that you can focus on them separately. You'd like to train with them together.
Sure.
But if you focus
push-ups at the shooting range.
Yeah, you literally like I go to a range now that's outdoor, and I'll just show up early to get a tactical bay. So a tactical bay allows you to kind of set up 50 yards. You can just do whatever you want, right? There's berms on left, right, and in the back. So you can set up 180 degrees if you want to. You just don't have to shoot just downrange, right?
Right.
So I try to go there, and I will try to set up like a battle is what they're called. So I'll like bring my kettlebells, my sandbags, and I'll try to set up a workout that mimics what I would do in a game.
Mm-hmm.
But my point is that if I focus on just shooting and just a good shooter will be a good shooter. So
Yeah,
like if you, it's
makes
just
sense.
like basic like fundamental stuff. So in any sports, like if you focus on your fundamentals of a swinging, so baseball, for example, if you just focus on fundamentals, and you just do reps after reps after reps, when you come up to plate, your fundamentals are going to be there. Now you have to focus on like everything else.
Right.
All the other conditions.
You know, the conditions.
It's like, you mean like football practice, it's them just playing a game of football over and over again.
Right.
Yeah. That makes sense.
So like I've noticed I've focused a lot. So fitness wasn't as hard for me. Shooting was. So instead of trying to do both at the same time, my focus was like, I'm going to really focus on shooting. And so I took some private lessons and I've just shot more. And I've recognized the reason I was missing more was my fundamentals were off. My grip was off. So like with a solid foundation, I can still shoot because my fitness is also there.
Yeah.
So I think focusing on the shooting and the fitness separate and then doing dry fire and then trying to bring it together if you can. Not everybody has the place to do it. You know, it's hard to find a place where you can just like bring all a bunch of fitness equipment and set up whatever you want, you know. So like luckily I was able to find at least a place. I have a cabin that's an hour and a half away from me that I can kind of do that too.
That's cool.
Yeah. So
isn't it funny how your social media transitions so quickly, like the algorithm hits where it's like mine is like so random anymore, but it's just, you know, all my interests kind of put into one, but it's like, you just scroll through my like For You page or whatever it is. And it's like, you know, jujitsu, like weightlifting, like jujitsu, like just random Formula One, like things that I'm just like interested in, you know what I mean? And so it is funny. I'm sure like if Laurel had to deal with my social media for a week, she would hate it.
Dude, there's apparently an algorithm for, or part of the algorithm on Instagram too is, I think there was a video that popped up one time and it was like this like animal or like a pet or something that was in trouble. And I was like, oh gosh, like, oh, I hope they're okay. And I like had to watch the rest of the video to make sure they were okay because I was like worried. And then it started playing me more of those. And I like have to avoid them now.
Right.
I'm like actively
get them off the algorithm.
click on something else.
Right.
Have a baby.
Oh,
dude,
yeah.
is so much baby stuff just pops up. Newborn stuff.
Yeah.
And
That's
like
funny.
maybe like Sam might send me one and I might click on one, but like I'm not seeking them. Right. It is this is where social media, man, like just
and I think it definitely takes like your age into consideration too, because mine will be like I'll be scrolling and it'll be like, okay, like we've got like, okay, jujitsu, like weightlifting, and it's like, are you starting to bald? Like, well, okay, wait a second, and you keep going and it's like TRT, and I'm like, okay, here we go.
The day I turned 30, I started getting a ton of ads for erectile dysfunction.
golly, at 30.
Yeah.
Come
I'm like,
on
yeah,
now.
it's not that old yet.
I read something recently, and I don't know how accurate it is, but or maybe I heard it from somebody who runs, you know, those test clinics are really popular now, like IV clinics or whatever. They are seeing in 20-year-olds a massively decrease in testosterone levels at a young age. And they're not taking, you know, like some might have issues if they took a prohormone or like started steroids
not those
kind
situations.
of at a bad time. It's none of that.
No.
It's just like
I probably have 30 friends in their late 20s, early 30s who are on TRT right now.
Oof.
Like it's just, and their levels, like they went and got tested, same kind of situation. It's like they didn't do pro hormones. They didn't mess themselves up, right? Relatively
they didn't
good
help themselves.
Right.
But
like even relatively good shape, like relatively good lifestyle. And it's like, okay, cool. And then they get their test levels back and they're like, 284. You're like, what? That's crazy. Like you're hypogonadal at that rate. Like you're starting, and it is like I don't know what it is, and I think it's a combination of probably a lot of things.
It's a lot of things, which could be in a whole other podcast.
You know,
probably.
kidding.
But yeah, I'll you put that video up of you practicing for the tactical games, of you doing those farmer carries and shooting at the gun range, and now all of our employees think you're the biggest badass.
It was kind of cool. I showed at church. Sam and I shared our testimony, and they kind of heard through the grapevine I was doing this. So like when I got to the questions, what kind of AR are you running?
Yeah.
What kind of like all these like 16-year-olds are super like interested in like the guns and stuff like that, and it's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Safety's a big thing in the
Sure.
tactical games if anybody's concerned. So
Absolutely.
it's a ton of fun. It's another great community.
Yeah.
Man, like all those people, you just talk about just showing up. We were talking about jiu-jitsu.
Yep.
Just show up. You just show up and just start asking some questions.
Yeah.
That community will be there for you. Be like, try this, do that. This is what
Yeah.
I'm running. Hey, if you,
It's a cool part of
I'm
things.
not running I'm not running a battle until like 2:00. So like, you want to use my gun, go for it. You know,
Right.
like, you supply the ammo, but
That's cool.
that's
cool.
that's kind of the people that are there. You
Yeah.
know, it's a really cool community. So
Yeah.
I just did one last year. I've been following it pretty religiously. I have a practice one coming up in December, and then I'm trying to do several in
Mhm.
next year.
Nice.
Pending scheduling is the biggest thing. Finances are always something to think about.
Oh,
You
yeah.
know, now with a baby and
Yeah.
priorities,
Sure.
and stuff like that. So.
Well, we got our 2-hour warning. It's also edging on 8:00. We got to break this all down so we can get back to help. But just to kind of wrap things up, and Kevin, you have anything you want to say before we wrap it up?
Yeah, no, been watching Alyssa. You can tell she's
I see
hanging
both.
out in the
I got my
kitchen.
back to her. So
Yeah, she's been hanging out in the kitchen. You can tell by her body language she's getting
Brian's
more
staring
and more
right at her.
stressed. So
Well, I texted her to try to get y'all to wrap it up because I couldn't make eye contact with y'all to let
sorry.
you
We're
know.
I'm not looking at you.
Yeah.
but yeah, we've got more sample triad prep and a big day tomorrow.
Yeah,
So we
but,
probably gonna get going.
But guys, really appreciate you listening in and tuning into episode 7. One of my favorite episodes, if not my favorite episode we've ever done. This was really awesome. Patrick, like we said, VP of Sales for Core Nutritionals, as well as Merica Labz. But again, more importantly, a dear friend to us. And we genuinely appreciate all your support, everything that you've done for us over the years, just coming out as often as you have. All of these things, it makes it to where, again, we don't view you as just somebody else we work with. We view you as a friend and part of the family. And it's really special whenever you're here, man.
Yeah.
So
Glad to be here. Thanks for having me. And yeah, let's crush it tomorrow.
Absolutely.
That's right. Crush it on 3. 1, 2, 3. Ryan, cut the video.
Crush it.